Hi, welcome back everyone. So I'm going to be going over a cloud-based database that I have made just the last couple of weeks. And so I have a few different tables here to section out my different recipes. And so this cloud-based database is for recipes, and then I have the recipe titles here, and then the ingredients here. And so if you're going to be doing something like this yourself, you'll probably want to update the way that you have your ingredients here, because the way that they are now, it makes it so it's difficult for querying. You can't search by ingredients with the way that it is. And so I'd recommend going over and making an ingredients section, and then adding each thing at the list, and then also perhaps making a quantity section and having each of those things there, and then be able to match them up that way, or possibly even a dictionary that way. So, but this particular database, I use Python to be able to access. You can use other languages to access as well, such as Java. Like if you were making an Android app and you wanted to be able to connect it, which eventually I will be updating this once I get everything finalized with the way that I want the database. And then I will write code in Java to be able to attach it to my meal planning app that we went over with a couple weeks ago. So the first thing you'll want to do, if you're going to be doing this, is you're going to want to import the Firebase admin with the credentials and the Firestore libraries. Then the first function that you'll have to do is initialize the Firestore. So if you haven't already, you'll have to do the pip install for the Firebase admin. I've seen some people go over it and just run this code here, and it will automatically install it. I don't know if that works. I didn't try it. I just did the pip install and it worked for me. But here you have your credentials, your certificate, and so you'll have a link to your database here, and then you'll input that with initializing the app, and then you'll go over and have your database attached to this Firestore client, and you'll return that database, and you'll pass this database into each of these functions individually. So before we get to each of those functions, I'm going to go over the main function here that will be calling each of these functions. So first you'll go over and you'll ask for the recipe types. So the recipe type will be which table you want to access. And so I put a list of all of the recipe types, so all the tables that are available. And of course, if I added new ones, I would update this. So right now, these are the only ones available. And so it'll ask for the recipe type, and it will title it so that way it's consistent, so that way if you did undercase an accident, it would still be able to access it. And then it will have a while loop here that as long as they're not picking 0 to exit the program, then it will, you can choose any of these options to be able to access all the other functions to access the database. So the options that you have are to add a new recipe, add or adjust an ingredient, remove ingredients, search recipes, or change the recipe type. So that's if you wanted to change, like if you put in breakfast and you wanted to change from breakfast and start searching for desserts or general recipes. So we'll go up to add a new recipe. So the add a new recipe has the recipe name here, and of course title, just like I was saying before. So you'll want to go over and access the database information. So that you'll go over and do the database collection, and then you'll go over and input the type, which is the table, whichever table you inputted in the main function, and then the name, which is the recipe name. And then from there, it's going to get the dictionary that has that. If it already exists, it's going to terminate this particular function and take you back to the main function. And you can choose to choose this add new recipe again and choose one that doesn't exist, or you can choose to do something different with that recipe. If you want to add an ingredient with the recipe that you have, then you can input the ingredient and the quantity, and it will append it to a dictionary. So you need to append all of the ingredients and quantities to a dictionary prior to updating the database, because if you do it at the same time, then it will just constantly be replacing itself, and you don't want that. Then you'll go over and you'll do the add ingredients function, and this function has the same thing with checking for that. And then rather than checking to see if it exists, it checks if it does not exist. If the recipe does not exist, then it will return the function and have you choose to create the new recipe if you want to. Then it will ask for the ingredient. If you choose an ingredient, an already existing ingredient, it will update that ingredient. If you choose a new one, then it will put a new one in there. And it will loop through as many times as you would like to do that. And then it will add this to, it'll update the dictionary and then add the dictionary to the database. So it'll update it there. If you want to remove the ingredient, a lot of the same code there. But here it's asking if they want to remove it, and then it will delete that particular ingredient from the database, and then it will update the database there. It also allows you to search for recipes. Here is what I was talking about a little bit earlier with querying, that if you don't have the ingredient field set up a little different, such as with ingredients, and have a list or a dictionary inside there, then you won't be able to query it properly with the way that I have it set up. I haven't looked into how I would need to change it yet, but eventually I'd like to be able to search by recipe as well. But right now it's not possible, so that's why it's commented out here. But if you went over and made your own database and you wanted to go over and do that, a lot of the code is already inputted here. You have to change this where statement a little bit, but most of it's there. But you can show all recipes there, and then it'll just go over and take all the recipes in that particular data type, and it will display it formatted nicely. And I'll show you how that looks when we run it, or you can show a certain recipe. And so it'll ask for whichever recipe you want, and you can tell it, and it will find that recipe specifically and display it for you. So I'll run that for you so you can see how it works. So recipe type, so we're going to say we're going to do breakfast. So we're going to add a new recipe, or say pancakes. And then it wants to know if we want to add new ingredients. Yes, we do. And so we can say when we need flour, and then we're going to need, let's say, 3 cups. And we're going to say no, just because I don't want to spend too much time doing this. So now before we continue, I'm going to show you that on here, you can see that it added pancakes with flour and 3 cups there. So then we can go back down to here, and we can go add or adjust ingredients. We can go to recipe name. So we're going to say pancakes. And we're going to say we want to add water. And we need, let's say we need 2.5 cups. And we're going to say, no, we don't want to add another ingredient. Well, actually, we do want to add an ingredient. We'll access a different one this time. This time we'll say crepes. And we want to add butter. And we're going to say 2 tablespoons. So now I'm going to show you what that looks like. So crepes now has, oh no, I need to finish saying that. So we'll say no. So then it should have updated. So crepes should have butter, so 2 tablespoons there. Pancakes have water, 2.5 cups there. Now if I choose to add or remove again, I can remove from the crepes, however you want to pronounce it. And we can remove the butter. Oops. And, oops, this is just updating the butter. So we're going to say we actually want 3 tablespoons. And we're going to say we're done. So now if we look over here, we see that butter is now 3 tablespoons rather than 2. Now we can remove an ingredient. So we're going to say grapes. We're going to say we're going to remove butter. And it's removed. So now if we look over here, there's no butter in our crepes recipe. Now, if we want to search for a specific thing, we can go for search for recipes. So let's say we want to search for all recipes in our breakfast section. So it has the crepes and the pancakes, and then the pancakes that we have there. We say we want to search, and we want to search for a certain recipe. So let's say let's say puff pancakes. So now it's just showing the puff pancakes recipe here. And then we can, of course, change the recipe type as well. And so we can go over and change it to, let's change it to general recipe. And let's say we're just going to do a search, so we don't have to change anything. And we'll say show all recipes. There's just one recipe in there. And so it says it's a do-it-yourself cup pop. So it just has the recipe there. And then we can exit the program just like that. So it's pretty simple, but it's really useful with updating that database. And as you can see, it updates it in real time here, as well as being able to read all of the things. So it makes it really convenient. So yeah, if you have any questions, then feel free to put them in the comments. Or if you have any comments on things that I could do better, or things that you just don't know why I did it that way, then feel free to let me know. Also, if you have any comments on how I could make this section better as well, that's awesome. So thank you for all of your help and for viewing this video. Like and subscribe if you would like to get more content like this. I'll continue to upload videos on different little projects, or update you on projects that I've already made. So thank you.